1.5 and 2.2 billion smokers in the world. 1.5 billion if every tobacco control measure works to the level that the WHO wants, and 2.2 billion could be the maximum number. They estimate there could be 1 billion smoking-related deaths in the 21st century. So this means that we need to do something in addition to the traditional tobacco control efforts. And we believe this is tobacco harm reduction. So essentially we accept that people want to use nicotine, but we want to offer them safer alternatives, less risky alternatives than the cigarette, which we know is very dangerous. So harm reduction and next generation products, so vaping products like electronic cigarettes, tobacco heating products, harm reduction and next generation products are critical to BAT's corporate strategy going forward. We believe that by 2020, the next generation product category will be worth £15 billion in the world, excluding China and the USA. So this is a very important commercial opportunity for us. I'm going to talk a bit about R&D, the scope of R&D and the size and so on. So at a glance, so when R&D began in 1956, we had 3 chemists. Today there are close to 1,500 scientists working in a number of sites around the world. Southampton is the largest of these sites. We have 9 R&D centers in 9 countries, over 40 nationalities. We've spent actually 1.5 billion on NGP investment. We have nearly 10,000 years of R&D experience. 26% of scientists here have a PhD. So it's a pretty significant R&D effort. BAT's R&D, and in fact much of the tobacco industry, is in the middle of a major transformation from manufacturing a single agricultural product, the cigarette, to being a multi-category consumer electronics company. The products of the future are battery-based, involve liquid formulations containing nicotine. So it's a very, very different type of product that we're building. This means that we've had to change the type of people that we recruit into BAT's R&D. So talent has been a big part of this transformation. We're now a truly global and integrated R&D. And I mean, it's a huge transformation. So how many people are familiar with the idea of the risk continuum? Is this a new concept for people? Okay, I will just briefly explain it. Basically, we know that conventional cigarettes are the most dangerous way to consume nicotine. It has the highest ratio of toxicants to nicotine. So this is the high-risk end of the spectrum. And at the other end, the low-risk end of the spectrum, the cleanest or safest way to consume nicotine is licensed medical products such as nicotine replacement therapy, the gums and patches that pharmaceutical companies sell. In between, we have other product category types. We have tobacco heating. We have low toxicant smokeless tobacco. This is about snus, which is a Swedish product. And we have electronic cigarettes. But in fact, the risk continuum looks a bit different. These products, in terms of exposure to toxicants and likely risk, do not sit one by one right next to each other. The issue is once you remove combustion, these products are all significantly reduced in terms of exposure to toxicants. So the issue with the dangers associated with cigarettes is about combustion, the process of combustion. When you light any plant material, a cigarette or wood in a bonfire, you create a huge amount of a hugely complex aerosol. There are between 6,500 and 7,000 constituents in cigarette smoke. Roughly 100 of these constituents are related or linked to human disease. So if we can remove combustion, we should be able to change the risk profile of these types of products and find a less dangerous way to deliver nicotine. So I want to say a few words about snus, which is an unusual tobacco product. It's an oral tobacco product found in Sweden and also Norway. It looks like a little pouch of tobacco, and consumers put it in their mouth between their lip and their gum. So it's a very, very different way to consume nicotine. But what this graph shows is what can happen when consumers are given safer choices, safer ways to consume nicotine. We know that snus is a reduced risk product because we have epidemiology. Snus has been used in Sweden for 200 years, and in the last 40 to 50 years, there has been a huge growth in the use of snus. What we observe in Sweden is that it has the lowest incidence of smoking in Europe, around 5% of the population. It also has one of the lowest lung cancer rates in Europe. So we know from the epidemiology that snus is a reduced risk product. What this graph shows is from about 1970, snus began to rise, the consumption of snus began to rise, and you can see the consumption of cigarettes also began to fall around the same time. So the fact that consumers have an alternative choice has meant that they can reduce their risk. Snus is an unusual situation around snus because Europe has a ban on oral tobacco products. There's a ban all across Europe. And when Sweden joined the European Union, they gained an exemption to continue using and selling snus to their to Swedish people because this was part of their culture. So we have a product that we know is reduced risk because we have epidemiology, and yet it is illegal throughout Europe. It's a very, very crazy situation. But it's a very, very useful scenario to discuss. So I'm going to go a little bit between the slides and what's on the table to show you our product portfolio. First, I'm going to show how e-cigarettes work and how they produce vapor. Most e-cigarette products today are